今日は船出日和だな。
Hey, welcome back to Second Piece. Today we're going to be ranking the Class 1A from the manga. So we could see since we've seen all their powers up until this point, we're going to be ranking them in 5 tiers from legendary, headliners, average, people that should be sidekicks or considered sidekicks already, and finally our favorite, not my hero. And these guys are people that should not be in the school or maybe just in the class.
Okay, starting off, we're going to start with Yuga Aoyama, probably one of the most worthless kids in Class 1A. His quirk is naval laser, but his drawback is that he gets a stomach ache almost every time he outputs a lot of power. And for that reason, and for a lot of other reasons we've seen recently where he has been just a pawn in the series and given his quirk, and that's why it's rejected him, I'm going to call him not a hero.
All right, up next is Mina Ashido. Or Sue. I'll do Sue. Um, Sue is probably I would put her as sidekick because she has been portrayed and shown as a sidekick to Sealy. She's good. She's really good on the battlefield and stuff, but she has her limits and doesn't really pose more of a threat as a hero than a sidekick.
I would actually contradict that to say that she is just slightly above that at average, just because of the versatility of her quirk, now being able to turn invisible, use her tongue, be able to ingest objects and then regurgitate them, as well as having a poison skin effect, which makes people slightly paralyzed. I would say she's at least more useful than a lot of other people in the class.
Yeah, that's fair. I would move her up to average.
Yeah, I feel like average is fair for Sue. Sue could either be. I would say Sue's on the almost on the border of average to headlines because it depends on where she is, but I feel like she would easily be one of the best rescue heroes, and rescue heroes get a lot of credit. And I feel like rescue heroes are probably more published than like seen in the series, so I think she would probably be in the headlines a lot more than like what we've seen because most of what we saw in terms of like breaking headlines heroes was just All Might for the longest time. So I think that like rescue heroes would have much more of a place, and I think she's one. But moving on from Sue, we're gonna get into Ashido, and I genuinely think that Ashido could just be straight up average. She is really not that impressive of a hero. I think that her quirk is very unique. I think that she would be decent at whatever she ends up doing as a hero post Class 1A, but as of right now, I don't see her making headlines. I don't really see her being anybody's sidekick. I think that she would be a sidekick for a while, but eventually get to that hero stage, but probably later than most of the class.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ashido has her like she really just has one power. Like you saw when everyone was advanced and getting a like a their whatever their power up move is, like their better move that they were practicing
their
at some
ultimate
point.
move.
And yeah, ultimate move. And all she did was just put her fingers together and shoot it further. So like when she was just training, so I think she's perfectly average, but not
Yeah, I
low
completely
enough for a
agree.
sidekick.
All right. Then we'll move on to the class president of Class 1A, Tenya Ida. I would definitely put him up at the headliners. He is from a historic heroic family. His brother and father and grandfather all being speed-based heroes. Him himself being one of the fastest heroes we've ever seen. in the series. He's definitely got a lot of power, force, and like just knowledge that will help him in the future to be one of the top heroes.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I would say that uh, not even given that his family name and all that would make him a headline automatically, but pun intended, he has the drive and he is like would be one of the top heroes, or not even a top, but he would be a really good hero because he has such great work ethic and he really tries for it. Up next is Ochako Uraraka, and she is one of the favorites from the series. I would put her at headline because she has a great reason to be a hero too, and she is also, I don't know if I can even say this, but she's one of the most attractive in the show because they make her out to be Deku's love interest, and they have a weird story thing. But she also is super powerful. She gets a new ability added onto her suit later on. She has a really good float quirk, and she showed it in the tournament against Bakugo, who was absolutely seemed like he was destroying her, and she almost beat him. And I think she would make a great headliner.
I would agree with all of that. I mean, Uraraka could literally. I mean, she was created in the series to be that great like female counterpart to help Deku out through his journey. I mean, you saw it right from the beginning when she floated him up. Like, I mean, if they inevitably get married throughout the end of the series, like she'll be in the headlines all the time because of what we're seeing with what Deku's going to have to accomplish here at the end of this stretch. But that'll move us right along to Kaminari. And Kaminari, I hate to do this to him, but I'm gonna put him in average for right now. I think I may be contested on this one, but I really think that his electric power is very not concise, not very accurate. I think that even with like his upgraded abilities and upgraded suits, like as we've seen him progress, I just feel like he wouldn't be a headlining hero. I think that like electricity is cool, but I think there's too many side effects, too many downsides to the quirk that I don't think he could be consistently a top hero. Maybe he'll break the top 20 like occasionally whenever all class 1A is like heroes. If I mean, not obviously all of them are going to be heroes, but yeah.
Then moving swiftly along to Mashiro Ojiro, probably the most normal looking character in the entire class, but his quirk, Tail, is definitely the least flashy. So I'm going to have to move him up to should be sidekicks, just because his quirk is very limited with its capabilities. I don't really foresee him being able to take out much stronger foes because his tail is strong, no doubt, and he's able to climb around, jump around, sort of like a monkey with it, but that's about it. And he has to rely a lot on his martial arts, which won't get him far against villains like Shigaraki and All for One.
Yeah, I agree. When I actually thought about it like multiple times, he's just Bruce Lee with an extra limb, and he's just strong with it. Like that's really all he is. That's not really like hero material. Since day one, I didn't really like think he could be or should be, especially like compared to people from Class 1B, uh, hero. But he he is good. He has his abilities. He has his time to shine and stuff, and he does well when he can. He's so limited. Like if a villain is out of reach of his tail, then he's gonna lose. Move on to Kirishima or Red Riot. He's one of my favorites. I think I would put him up at headline because he is one of the most driven, and he is always just trying to be like the bigger, like a big man, like a man, manly. And he has his just super hardening quirk, and he can just completely go completely solid. And I think it's just a really good quirk.
I would.
Okay, I completely want to disagree with you. I would put Red Riot at legendary. I think that he has the drive, the passion, the power. And I mean, there's nothing more that he needs. Like, he literally just needs to be hard, and like he is hard, like in every sense of the word. And I think that, like, given time, he would easily be a top 5 hero because he would make himself a top 5 hero. He would go out and look for the crimes if nothing's happening. He would find ways to make that hardening competitive with the likes of, like, Bakugo or Deku.
Well, I think we all forget with Kirishima. I actually agree with you, Ryan, that he would be in the legendary tier just because he is the only hero we have ever seen to pierce Gigantomachia. His skin is so
Oh,
hard,
I always forget.
nobody else could actually do damage to him. Kirishima scaled him like a wall. While also, his efforts in shooting the vial into Gigantomachia's mouth knocked him out. He is the only reason the heroes were saved in that instance and took Gigantomachia off the board. That in and of itself is a legendary feat.
Then moving along to Coda. Bro, Coda, albeit he's a great guy, I would put him in not my hero, but I'm gonna say he should be a sidekick. Like, he shouldn't have done it. Like, I mean, he could have done anything, but he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna be a superhero." Like, there's many better uses for his quirk. Um, that's just my 2 cents. I think that he would be a good rescue hero, maybe even sometimes offensive, but definitely more so rescue due to the fact that, like, it would be a powerful rescue quirk. But I think that there would be other potential uses for his quirk in this world, and I just don't think he needed to go to Class 1A for it. I'm not gonna lie. I think that's a wasted seat, and I think he'll be a sidekick at best.
Yeah, I agree. I think he would be primarily rescue and surveillance, really, because his quirk is really good for surveillance too, because no one's going to look to the sky for an animal and be like, oh.
That's actually
So
very
I
true.
think that would be a really good sidekick. I originally had him as not my hero, but I guess he just because he just seems scared all the time, and he's just always like nervous, like, which I get. Like, they've only been there for like a year, 2 years. But I think the sidekick would be a great spot for him.
All right, then we'll move on to the one, the only, the Sugar Man. I like I like his quirk. It's a cool concept, but it really is limited with how much sugar he can have on his body at one time. Unless this man is railing pixie sticks on a constant basis, his quirk dies down after a few minutes. And he can always raise that time, but even that, his power will never come up to the level of Deku, All Might, even Kirishima. So I would say for that, I'd put him at about should be a sidekick.
I can't just now stop envisioning Coda snorting pixie sticks, just like on the battlefield.
That's all he could do. It's
Yeah,
like,
Just,
if he's
like,
isolated,
watch
he can't
my
use his
final
power.
form and pulls out a whole bag of sugar and just snorts it in front of his enemies.
yeah, like instead of Batman's utility belt, this man has like a snack bar in his belt. Like he's just pulling out muffins and stuff.
I would say I would keep him at sidekick just because, like, if he's on, like, basically a hero squad that's slightly above the police in terms of strength, like, he would be a good sidekick for, somebody with actual super strength.
Yeah.
Like, he would have his limitations, but, like, that's why he would be the sidekick. Like, he'd be there to, like, wrap up, like, the goons, like, in a, like, just like this, like, slightly above the police level of threat, almost, is what I'm thinking of. Like, robbers, but they have ridiculous quirks that, like, would just need some simple punches. Alright, next up we're ranking Jiro. I've got to give Jiro the average. I think that she'll be a good hero. I don't think she'll be a headlining hero. I think that the earphone jack ability is good. I think it's flashy enough that she'll make a good career as a hero. I think that the marketing and all the other aspects of being a hero that are outside of saving people actually would work very well for her quirk. I just don't see her outside of doing like too much saving the world. I see her just doing smaller crimes and being very popular with a musical crowd.
But let's keep going right along to Hanta Sero, the Tape Man. Uh, his hero quirk's name, Cellophane, which is one of the worst hero names I think I've ever heard. Apart from what we'll get onto later with Mineta. But Sero, I think his quirk is very useful. Having the two tape launchers from his elbows, he is one of the most maneuverable characters in the class. Apart from maybe Ida, like being a little quicker, he was even shown to be able to wrap up Todoroki within seconds of the start of the sports festival. He's definitely powerful in his own right, but his quirk does have limitations with it just being tape and there being a lot of things that can cut, burn, or just get rid of the tape. So for that, I think I'm going to put him at average. I think he is an overall good hero and has a good quirk, but I don't think he'll be making waves in the future.
Yeah, I agree. It's just tape. He's basically a watered down Spider-Man. And a watered down Spider-Man would be very average in the Marvel universe. This man is very average in the My Hero universe.
So next has Todoroki. Not much to really say besides he's easily legendary. Like he's Endeavor's son for starters, and that already puts him at a headliner. And he has probably I think he has the best quirk in the class, and he uses it so much and so well, and he is so dynamic with it, especially after he decided to use both sides and creates like a super move every single time we see him in battle. He has an even more powerful move, and it gets even better and better, and he's been good since day one. Tragic backstory and everything. He's just overall is the beast.
Yeah, moving right along then. We got Dark Shadow, Tokiyami. Tokiyami, I mean, come on. This is self-explanatory. It's legendary. If we're talking that any hero that has control over one time a day, I mean, this is like the almost Batman effect. It's like crime at night will go down immediately. You would never have criminals deciding to do things at night if Tokiyami's in town because he literally is in control of everything. The fact that it's dark, he wins. Like, it's just as simple as that. There's very few criminals, even in the daylight, that can step up to him. Like, we're talking, we need high power criminals, like League of Villains level criminals, to be able to challenge him at this point. And if it's nighttime, like I said, it's over. He's got way too much capability, way too much versatility, way too much speed in even the day. But we're talking nighttime, it's over. He's an absolute beast. He's an absolute menace on the battlefield. He deserves nothing less than legendary.
All right, but then we will get on to the, let's say, least noticeable character in the class, Hagakure. Uh, she obviously has the invisibility quirk and hasn't been focused on too much in the series. Her quirk is useful in certain situations. If she was able to make other people invisible with her, it would be a lot more helpful. But just based on her abilities right now, I would say she should be a sidekick.
All right, so next is Bakugo. He's legendary. I think if Deku just straight up didn't exist, he would be number one hero out of Class 1A. He's just will forever be number two hero because we know Deku's number one. But Bakugo is just gonna forever, like even if Mirio does exist, I think Bakugo will still chase him and still beat him. At least because he has that drive. Who he can never be second place to anyone.
Yeah. Mirio has a lot of the aspects and traits to be like the number one hero with his personality. Like if Deku were out of the picture, but like Bakugo's quirk and flair, like his demeanor is similar to Endeavor's, and Endeavor got that #1 hero spot. So there's absolutely no reason why Bakugo wouldn't have had that if we're in a world where Deku wouldn't exist. Alright, and then we're gonna get to just like the absolute easiest. If you're caught up A in the anime, if you're caught up B in the manga, it's you know. You just know. All for one. And it's the end of the story. Like he has the power, like he has the speed, like, and the potential is endless from what we've seen. So only more to come with Deku, but Deku is obviously the #1 legendary hero out of Class A.
No.
All right, everybody else gets to talk about all the legendary and great characters in the class. Well, I get stuck with all the memes. So we'll get right on to the biggest meme of them all, the pervert of Class 1A, Minoru Mineta, grape juice. Oh my god. He, I wouldn't say useless. He can be useful. His quirk actually isn't horrible. Being able to stick anybody to a surface with those balls and then being almost like they can regenerate for not an infinite amount of time, but a good amount of times. We've seen him actually help defeat villains. He's good as a support, but that's about it. And I would still put him as not my hero. I don't think he deserved the spot in Class 1A, and he definitely has the lowest actual spirit of the class.
Yeah, that's easy enough. Like he literally
Yeah.
became a hero to get laid.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, yeah, hero my ass.
For the ladies. Every single time. All right, so yeah, I definitely agree with that. And another one, we're gonna keep filling up the legendary pot with Momo Yaoyorozu. She is an absolute legend. She's a beast. Um, her versatility and her just like overall strength and knowledge alone, she's voted vice president, but I think she should have gotten president. But that's a political debate we don't need to have right now. Because Deku got voted out of nowhere, and then Ida gave it to whatever. But Yaoyorozu should be class president. She's super smart, and it shows, and her quirk needs her to be smart. She continues to get better and better. She can literally create pretty much everything out of her body. Just and that's it's literally like possibilities are just endless. Um, and I think she's probably top 5 material in the hero world.
All right. Well, that's all we have for this episode. If you liked any of our opinions, if you liked our where our characters were rated, if you had different ratings, please let us know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, and please follow us along on this journey by following our TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. And yeah, we'll see you next week.